I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic from which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all. With liberty and justice for all.
Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Berto Be Thinking podcast, where we explore and unpack ideas on faith, health, and social justice. Today, we're going to be talking about post-election and just different topics relating to that. But before we begin, I just want to lay down a few disclosures. First and foremost, I am not a professor. I am not an economist, nor am I a government official. My words should not be taken as gospel. These are simply my thoughts and opinions, but ultimately I want y'all to think for yourselves. Some days we'll have solutions to the problems we bring up, and other times we will not, and that's okay. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to the second episode of the Berto Be Thinking podcast. Today we have a very special guest, my boy, my guy. I feel like I start off, every intro like this, but this is my dude. We were roommates in college, my man, Kersey, Chasm, Hussein.
Hey.
What's good, Chasm? How you doing, bro?
I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good, bro. It's really good to have you on this podcast. First and foremost, I just want to introduce you. Me and Kersey, we go way back. We started college together. We were roommates when we first started off. Actually, no, we weren't, but we were in the same suite. We were suite mates. We ended up being roommates the year after. And pretty much what we used to do, we used to just chop it up, right? We used to just talk about like so many different things, from our faith to, just government and all of that stuff. So I'm really glad to have you on, bro, that we get the chance to chop it up again.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Hey, sounds good. But bro, man, since the last episode, a lot of stuff has been happening, man. So election day, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it was really divided.
Yeah.
I think, if you're a Biden person, you're just extremely happy. You're just happy that Biden won. If you're a Trump person, you're not so happy you think the election was stolen. As you're speaking today, there's the whole Million MAGA March going on right now. So Trump people are still.
You said Million MAGA March.
Million MAGA March, yeah. So Trump people are protesting the victory right now. They're saying it's election fraud.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was real close. So Biden people, even though Biden has more electoral votes, and that's ultimately all that matters, he even has more popular votes. But Biden people should take notice that this is still a close election. It was still a close election.
Yeah, mad close. And I'm glad that you said that, bro, because just seeing how close the election was, like, really showed me exactly like what you said, just how divided our nation is. This joint really went down almost 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wild to me. That's wild to me to see how all that we've been through with 2020 leading up to 2021, we about to go into a new year, but all that's happened with the Trump administration, to see how people are still deciding to, vote for him, to support him. To me, that's wild. Maybe I should be a little bit unbiased in this discussion, but we've seen how wild 2020 has gotten, man. And it's just crazy to me to see how it's split down the middle, how one side isn't clearly seen as the most effective side.
Because so you have to look at how it was split, I think. Right?
Yeah.
So urban populations voted overwhelmingly for Biden. Rural
Yeah.
populations voted overwhelmingly for Trump.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. So when we look at the electoral map, we see blue and red states. But if we just look at the states themselves, I mean, it'd be like you'll just see the city's blue, and then maybe the surrounding suburbs are blue, and you see red, 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 red,
Facts.
and then the other city, two more cities are blue, and then all around that is red, 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 red. So people are living in two different Americas right now.
Yeah.
And so that requires us to be more empathetic and to try and understand, what's going on.
Yeah. No, for real, man. And like even with what you said about being more empathetic, I think we also have to think about like, okay, like this election happened. We notice how split and how divided our nation is. How do we move forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we keep it pushing? Because you got one side of the party is like, yo, really hype, yo. Like the day Biden won, bro, crazy on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
People was really celebrating. People were really happy. This was the first time I've seen this nation like really just happy in a long time. But then you got
not the nation, not the nation.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a good point. But then you see the other side. They salty, bro.
Yeah,
they salty. They big mad.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I saw a video, and I don't know if it's true. I mean, you told me it wasn't true, but I saw this video of supposedly it seemed like it was Donald Trump trying to pretend to be somebody else, calling in on what was it? Fox?
It was Fox News Laura Ingraham show. So there was some whistleblower who was saying he saw rampant voter fraud. And the video, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't actually see the segment, but I can almost assure you that video you sent me was fake. It was not.
I don't know, dog.
It was not.
It sounded just like his voice.
Yeah,
this man put a filter over it, but it sounded very similar to him.
Yeah. But I mean, whoever edited it was.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Did a very good job.
But I was gonna say, like, in terms of that, like if that were to be true, right? If that was an actual video from Trump, like he's salty. He's salty. his squad is salty. The Proud Boys not so proud right now.
Yeah.
You feel me? They looking down. They're sad. Oh, dang, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. But we see that. And
what do we do about?
Yes, exactly. Like, how do we move forward? Because, like we've been saying, the nation is divided. One side is happy, the other side is sad. How do we move forward? How do we continue as a nation? Because we have to work together, right? At the end of the day, whatever happens, we got to keep it pushing. And that's one of the things that I really wanted to talk about on this podcast is just that very fact. Like, how do we unite and how do we move together, right? Our country is called the United States. And if we're not united, like, how do we move forward? We even see that in our Pledge of Allegiance, right? One nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. How do we keep those tenets alive here today?
So, I'm imagining that people listening to this podcast are tech savvy and are on social media.
Yeah.
Part of what we do is we can be a little bit better on social media. Because right now, what I'm seeing on Twitter, especially, I have a semi-anonymous account on Twitter. I'm not trolling.
I got a Finsta.
Yeah, I'm not trolling, but I like to keep Twitter private, at least something a little bit private.
Mm-hmm.
But Twitter's a cesspool, man. Twitter's a cesspool. I mean, you have guys like Toure, who used to work on Views. He's out here talking about, I hope Trump supporters feel excruciating pain.
Yeah,
because you deserve it.
Yeah.
I saw somebody's who I went to elementary school with. She said, Trump supporters, we still hate you.
Yeah.
Who else? I'm saying you got politicians and ex-government officials talking about, putting people on lists, keeping a
Oh,
record
wow.
of everyone who supported Trump. Like this is wild. So I mean, everybody needs to like bring the temperature down a little bit and be talk better to people who
Yeah.
listen to people who you disagree with,
Yeah.
and try and see how the other half
Nah,
lives.
that's real. But I also understand the other side as well and why people feel the way that they do, simply because like I was saying earlier, these past 4 years, bro, have been wild. Like we've been seeing so much, at least within the media, like just so much hate that comes from the right wing. Um
Yeah.
and already, like, depending on what side you're on, there's already stipulations already placed upon you. For example, if you're a Trump supporter, you're already considered a racist, right?
Yeah.
And if you're on the left, you already considered a socialist.
So yeah.
Now, I can really understand why people look at Trump supporters the way that they do, because their political party is tied to what it seems like in this day and age is tied to your values, is tied to what you deem as important. Like even now we see on the media, Trump supporters not wearing masks, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, the mask versus the maskless, right?
Mhm.
We got socialist versus racist. You
Yeah.
feel me? So it's clearly just a divide, and people don't want to go to the other side. So I don't know. Even though I agree with what you're saying, I understand how it's difficult, because a lot of Trump's rhetoric is associated with a bunch of BS.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I'm not a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. I do have certain sympathies for Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Because I feel as if they're kind of most of them are misunderstood. But then I'll say this, that the reason why people, the reason why I understand why people like don't like them, right?
Yeah.
So you have like a lot of unsavory characters who support Trump.
Yeah.
Like there's no doubt that you've got KKK types.
Yeah.
You've got unaffiliated white nationalists.
Yeah.
You got David Duke,
Yeah.
who's out here supporting Trump.
Yeah.
You had even Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer supported Trump. I don't think he does anymore. I think now he supports Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough. So Richard Spencer, the white supremacist,
Yeah.
for anybody who doesn't know. And Richard Spencer has said that Stephen Miller, who works in the Trump White House,
Okay.
that they used to be on the debate team in college, and they share similar views, but Miller hides it. So people, there is a real question as to whether or not they're white supremacists
Yeah.
working in the White House.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised
Dang.
when somebody tells you something like that about Stephen Miller, who's also, telling people to read white nationalist.
And this is what I'll say, bro. That's I think that's the issue, though.
Yeah.
Like, how are you a leader of the free world, right? And you
Mhm.
got these people under your belt,
Yeah.
and these are the people associated with your campaign. This is the base that you're talking with. Like, this is the base that is predominantly following
Yeah.
you.
So I don't think it's predominant. So that's what I was going to get to.
Okay.
Is that I think most people who support Trump, they were people who, once again, they were rural people.
Yeah.
They don't make much money. They don't have. That's kind of most of the country. Most of the country
Yeah.
is, or not most, but half. They don't make much money. They don't even have the opportunities that you or I have.
Okay.
And we're black men.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, and they're predominantly white.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on that later.
Yeah.
Because that's a really interesting point.
And so I think they thought Trump was going to fight for them in some way. Because imagine, you get off the farm, or you're done working retail or something like that. And you go home after a long day, you really ain't have nothing. And you've got academics who are now political pundits on cable news every night telling you that, okay, you've got white privilege.
Yeah.
No matter what white privilege means, they don't know your definition of white privilege. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get you.
when they hear it, they just hear you have it good because you're white.
Yeah.
And so they feel a certain type of way about that, because their existence is not, the way they're living at that moment, that it tells them that that's completely untrue.
Yeah.
Or these pundits will talk to them, tell them that they're racist or something like that. And so when Donald Trump comes to them and he's saying, I'm going to fight these people who are saying all these things about you, I guess that's attractive for them. And when he's also giving he's also talking about economic populism. So, he's
What does that
actually
mean?
going to um, interfere, or not interfere. I didn't want to use the word interfere, but actually be active in the economy,
Yeah.
not just let a laissez-faire capitalism so that jobs can go overseas anymore. He's actually saying, I'm going to fight for our workers here. I mean, I think that's just powerful.
Yeah. Now, do you think that he fulfilled the promises that he was telling his people?
Mm. No, I would say no. I mean, the wall's not finished, and even if it is, it's kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
It's not kind of mediocre; it is mediocre. And I can't say that people's lives have gotten better, especially with Corona. I mean, maybe before Corona, he could have made the argument, but I mean, now it's just everybody's been hit hard.
Yeah, everyone has taken an L, bro, and I think that's the biggest shock to me, though, in regards to all of this, is even though, like you said, you have this, for lack of better words, this new ruling class, because I mean, we are doing well. Like the college educated black man, right?
And woman.
Come on,
Yeah.
let's talk about it.
One of the most educated, most well off. But
yeah, and we got a black woman as a vice president. That's something that we've never seen before. But it shows you how the dynamics are shifting and changing, right?
Yeah.
And we have gotten to a place where our education, and like even in today, we see everybody trying to be woke, right?
Yeah.
Everybody trying to get a new level of knowledge, trying to see things in a new perspective than we've seen before. And I think some of that can be a little bit demeaning to those who aren't well off, right? So when we hear about things like privilege, and we hear about all of this stuff, like you said, they are poor. They live in the rural areas, right? A lot of their jobs have gone overseas.
Yeah.
A lot of their factories have been shut down, and they're struggling, right? Healthcare is bad. They're not getting really any assistance from the government.
Yeah.
So when we sit here and we talk about all of these things, it doesn't make sense to them, right? Because and because they see foreigners taking their jobs, right? They see people who don't look like them rising to the top.
Yeah.
And they see that they are not making any headway in this country. And it's really interesting, bro, because I feel like both parties feel like they're being forgotten by America.
Yeah.
And that's the wild part about it.
And the truth is, both parties might be correct.
Yeah.
Both parties. And you know who had that message? Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
I'm not going to make I'm not out here campaigning for Bernie Sanders, obviously. But, he was able to say it's not, you poor white people who are the problem. It's not you poor black people who are the problem, or you forgotten people who are the problem. It's still millionaires and billionaires,
Right.
Was that a good impression?
Nah, yo, bro, that was spot on.
All right, good. Yeah, but it's the millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah,
You only start saying billionaires only after he became a millionaire. But
facts.
We're not gonna talk about that.
I'm weak. Yo, it'd be like that, bro.
Yeah.
I be telling people, man, once my tax bracket grow up, I don't know about being Democrat no more. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
You shook? Yeah.
Now we got to get better Republicans in office, though.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. To me, I just want to vote for whoever is going to offer me something.
Yeah.
Whoever's talking about improving people's lives. Like I'm kind of over like the whole like identity politics
that's valid.
and woke stuff, because
that's
like,
a really good point. Yeah.
It doesn't go nowhere. You know what I mean? It's just sorry to anybody I'm offending, but
don't apologize.
But it's like, to me, that stuff is it's never fixed. My stomach just growled. It doesn't fix anything. Like, what did Oscars Is So White actually do to improve people's lives? That whole campaign. How does I don't know, more people being on TV, more,
Yeah.
you know.
So how would you suggest that? Because I feel like all of these things come from us realizing that there are injustices in our society, right?
Yeah.
And there's division. Like, I think the wokeness came about us recognizing the division, right?
Yeah.
And I think that people are trying to hold America accountable, but I think that they're doing it. I don't know if they're doing it in the wrong way, but they're doing it in a way where other people may not feel included in that mix, right? So how would you, and this is my question to you, bro, how would you, because what you're saying is you're feeling like the wokeness isn't really contributing to much, but what is the best solution for us to be able to speak about our grievances, right? But also walk together united. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense, because what I see is that, like, us talking about our problems, right, is dividing us more than it is bringing us together. Now, how do we talk about our problems and then come up with solutions and move forward?
Well, let me talking about the problems, right? You can
Talk about it.
You can
Go ahead.
You can, express a grievance without being and being civil about it. Not to say people aren't being civil, but there's a way to speak to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Right. So once again, this goes back to sort of how, like, social media. A lot of the conversations are taking place on social media.
Yeah.
And you got people behind screens who can't see the person that they're talking to.
Yeah.
And they feel as if they're able to say anything they want to say in any manner they want to say it.
Yeah.
And, you go on Twitter and you write something on Twitter. Twitter is supposed to be short. It's supposed to be, like, witty. Yeah. And there's no nuance in being short and witty.
Right.
Right. You have to get rid of nuance for it to work that way. Right. So Twitter rewards that. And then you've got memes on Instagram or something like that.
Memes is funny, bro.
Memes are funny, yeah. But then sometimes, once again, witty. Being witty is a good thing, right? Everybody likes somebody who's witty, but you lose nuance there.
Yeah.
Or if you're making fun of somebody who you should be trying to convince of your cause, I mean, maybe that's not a good idea too. So maybe just being funny is not funny. Meme is not the best thing. And so some of this has to be people have to say, okay, I want to get a point across. Yeah. So let me get a point across. Yeah. Not try to demean the other side or, I mean, sometimes you do have to make fun of the other side, but I mean, there's a lot of making fun of people more than there is trying to have constructive dialogue.
That's valid. That is so true, man. I think on both sides, bro, we've really have done a poor job at communicating. Yeah. At really talking.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And what was I going to think? Like, cancel culture, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Cancel culture. So, because you were talking about holding people accountable, right? You can hold somebody accountable. Right? You can give constructive criticism. You can give a critique, right? Which is, in the critique, you deconstruct what somebody has said. Yeah. And you break down why there's a problem with each part of that. Yeah. Right. What people are calling cancel culture, right? People are saying that it's just holding people accountable, but it's not. What canceling is, and the reason why everybody's having a hard time defining it, is because it's an old thing that we're trying to give a new name. It's just cyberbullying. That's what cancel culture has become.
Why would you use that word, cyberbullying?
Cyberbullying, because think about it. When, before the internet, as we know it, matured, right? I remember a time when I was a kid where somebody at school would say something stupid or whatever, or people didn't like that person for whatever reason, and then you have a gang of people, like the whole school, going online and saying, "Wow, you're stupid, you're ugly, blah 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 blah, you don't deserve to live, blah 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 blah." Right? It's just a bunch of people just piling on negativity on you, right? So that's really what happens when somebody gets canceled. Yeah, somebody may say something that other people, don't like or other people find stupid, And instead of saying why the person went wrong, it'll just be like, like a meme or something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be a meme, or it'd be
Yeah.
like, this is why you're stupid. It's cyberbullying. But people somehow assume that when you're an adult, you'll be able to take it all.
Right.
Even though when you're a child, like nobody would consider letting people do that.
Yeah, man. That's a really that's a really good point that you bring up, bro, in terms of cancel culture. It reminds me of like what we talked about last week in terms of, so what in the last week's episode we spoke about how the government should be almost seen as a father figure, right, to the citizens, and the citizens could be seen as the children, right? And at least the way that you described it is very childlike, right? Is how we operate, bro. Because what I'm realizing as I get older, and the importance of education is really interesting, because when we look at like the small communities that children grow up in, whether it be school, whether it be college, whatever, that prepares you for what's about to happen outside in society, right? All the stuff we experienced in college, bro, we seen it happening in everyday life. We seen it happen on CNN.
Yeah.
We seen it happen on social media. So I feel like what kids go through is no different than what you go through as an adult. So I really like the point that you brought up about how like all these kids are coming up against this one person to cancel them, right?
Yeah, I mean, but in the canceling scenario, it's not kids; it's just adults.
It's just
but
adults, grown
we
folk.
assume that the grown folk can take it,
right?
Whereas the kids can't. But I mean,
right.
grown folk can't take it.
But that's the thing, man. It should have prepared you, because the way we used to get roasted back in the day, bro, that joint should prepare you for cancel culture. You better have something to come back real quick.
Yeah.
Nah, but honestly, it's I definitely agree with you, man. Cancel culture is really tough because it doesn't leave room for discussion, man. It doesn't even leave room for dialogue. And I think now that we have a new president, right? I think what Joe Biden is doing, at least in his campaign, he's trying to make it clear that he wants to bring room for dialogue, right?
Yeah,
he
great.
wants to bring different people to the table, right? To have a talk, to look at solutions, to be able to move forward. And even when we look at the coronavirus, COVID-19, what's been going on, when we look at that, we're all struggling, right?
Yeah.
None of us are doing well when it comes to this pandemic,
Yeah.
and yet we want to act as if all things are peachy keen.
Yeah.
So I feel like this should have been, right, the moment where we join together. But for whatever reason, the pandemic has separated us. So I feel like Joe Biden has a really good opportunity to bring us together in fighting this virus.
Yeah, that's my dog barking, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think he'll try, and I really hope that he succeeds, man. Yeah, I mean that's really it. Like, so he's a guy who he's not too far left, and he's not too far right. So hopefully he can kind of bring the two parties together to work on legislation to help the country out. Not only that, he's your classic politician.
Yeah.
He's not going to say anything divisive.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing is that right now you've got a very powerful far left and a very powerful far right. Or I don't want to say that they're powerful. They're not powerful, actually. That's the illusion. They're not. They're not powerful. It's just that they have so much. They get so much airtime and get so much gas.
Yeah.
They look more than like they're more than they are. So hopefully those two sides don't pull him in either direction. Well, really, the threat is really more from the far left with Joe Biden. But hopefully, we can take away all the gas from those two sides.
Yeah. Because I think the biggest thing right now is unity, man. And I think that's what we need in our country right now, because if we're not on the same page, it's detrimental, especially with the pandemic that we're in right now. We all have to be on one accord.
Yeah.
We all have to wear our mask, right? We all have to, stay 6 feet apart. We all have to follow guidelines, and there needs to be a concentrated effort by both parties To not only follow those guidelines, but after the coronavirus, to continue to move forward together. And one of the reasons why I started off the intro with the Pledge of Allegiance, bro, is because that's what our country is founded upon, right? Yeah. Our country is founded upon the idea that we do things together, united, right? One nation, indivisible, right? This nation was not supposed to be divided, but we've seen time and time again how though that doesn't seem to be evident, right? We are trying to be united, but for whatever reason, we struggle in getting that correct. But that's okay, right? Because as a country, we form a constitution, we form a framework, and then we continue to keep pushing forward to make sure we adhere to those standards, right? Yeah. Sometimes we're going to fall short, right? Which America has done many times, right? But we still have to keep moving forward. And one thing that just came to my mind right now, bro, is Martin Luther King, right? His I have a dream speech, right? Yeah. His desire was for us as a people to go forward together, right? As was for us to be able
somebody out there just got mad because somebody out there got mad because you mentioned King, Dr. King.
But listen, that's what he spoke about though, right? And we also have to talk about the success. Let me not, infuriate anybody, but honestly, if we talk about like in terms of like what Martin Luther King was able to do, he was able to have a sit down with the president, right? Yeah. He was able to have a conversation. Why? Because he was speaking about things that were founded within our nation, moving together, right? And I think that's hard for people to hear. Because certain sides aren't talking about moving together, right? Yeah. They're talking. That's how we were taught. We were raised on this, right?
That's the thing. Everybody's become a lot more militant.
And it makes sense because it's a power struggle, right? Yeah. It's a power struggle. Yeah.
I mean, but everything can't come down to power. I mean, at some point, people have to start seeing each other and seeing the humanity in people. Yeah. And so, you got a lot of the sentiment of, less Martins, more Malcolms, or more Malcolms, less
because
Martins.
People are tired, bro. Yeah. People are tired of all the talk, all the BS.
Malcolm, a little bit of Malcolm is good. Yeah. I love Malcolm X. Yeah. But, you also need some of the Martins because the Martins need to sit down and actually get something, move something forward, right? Yeah. So, I mean, people just need to, once again, the temperature needs to come down. It's like the emotions need to people need to start focusing emotion, the energy they're giving to their emotions, to their rationality, and start thinking. So the militancy needs to be checked a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree, man, because I think when you have that militant mindset, you always ready to fight, right? Yeah. You always ready to go. You always got the gun loaded, ready to spray whoever. You feel me? And that's literally what I was afraid of. I was afraid that our country was gonna go to that, man.
It didn't happen though.
Hey, thank the Lord.
It didn't happen,
man. But we still got time.
But it didn't happen. I mean, let's see what happens at this Million MAGA March.
Million MAGA
March, man.
Bro,
we were at the Million Man March.
We were. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Yeah. But you're right. People really have to tone it down when it comes to being very militant because we have to work together, right? Mm-hmm. These are the people that you're going to be going to work with. Yeah. These are the people that
they're in your own family, man. Look, I got a family member who is a Trump supporter. Yeah. And which is funny because he used to hate Trump. Yeah. He used to hate Trump. This is going to bring us into another topic, I think. And he used to hate Trump until like he began to see, or began to feel, I should say, that certain media outlets were lying to him. Yeah. Man. And I'll tell you, but I got big beef with these media outlets.
Oh, you calling them out?
Calling them out.
Call them out on the track.
I got a problem
with
CNN with Fox, MSNBC, man. Yeah. I think those three cable news networks, cable news channels, are complicit in the division in this country, man. 100%.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree, man. And it's crazy because following the election, switching between different news channels, you already see the way that they're speaking.
Yeah.
Right? They're all saying things differently.
They're trying to be subtle about it. Each one of them's trying to be subtle about their messaging, but if you really pay attention, you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that as people, we really have to be careful in this day and age which media we consume, because it's very easy for us to just focus on what caters to our mind and what caters to things that we know. So I really feel like you're talking about in terms of like being more objective, really thinking things out. We really have to get a whole picture and not just one side, which I feel like a lot of these media companies are portraying just one side of the coin and not really talking about the full picture.
Well, the problem is the fact that, they are not objective media outlets, but they try to come across as though they are.
Okay.
Right? Which is, so everybody knew that Fox News was not, they got good reporting over there, good reporters, fairly accurate reporting. But then once it's like 8 p.m. to like midnight, Fox News is just, forget about it. But like throughout, like during the day, they actually have good reporting. Okay. But even the actual good reporting, it's kind of laced with like right wing buzzwords or whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But they had the reputation for that. I'm telling you, man, I'm so sad about what happened to CNN, man. Because if you remember back to the college days, when I wasn't in class, you might catch me in the common area, the living room, watching CNN. I used to love watching CNN, and to see how, they've kind of turned into just a straight up anti-Trump propaganda network, as opposed to doing the quality journalism.
I think to an extent they still have it, but they're kind of veering a little bit off course.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, cause I low key be liking CNN. I ain't gonna front.
I know you like CNN, but I'm sure most of your audience likes CNN.
Yeah. But what I was saying is, I feel like they're not fully to the left. They're getting there. You know what I'm saying?
Notice I didn't say left. I just said anti-Trump.
Okay.
They just hate
Bro,
Trump.
Hey, look.
Look.
I can't be mad at him.
Yeah, look, if you don't like Trump, just tell me you don't like Trump.
Yeah.
Right? But don't tell me like this is just honest reporting when it's not. You know what I mean? It's just not honest reporting. Like, so what? Disclaimer, not Trump supporter.
Yeah.
MAGA. Trump no MAGA. Right? Trump calls everything all news that he dislikes or news that's negative about him fake news, right? Which is not true. It's not fake news. But there's a lot of news out there that's just not real. Not real. All right. So I'm kind of disappointed when CNN puts out, I don't want to say they put out fake stories, but some of it is just, when I started to realize it, man, I was watching CNN one day and Don Lemon had a whole segment about how Trump talks like a woman. Like, really, man? Seriously? That's like 2016, man. I was like, come on, man. Like, this isn't news, man.
That's a good topic, bro.
It was just so obvious. It was such an obvious way to try and like get Trump mad.
CNN is a 24-hour news network, man. They gotta find something.
Okay, but listen, man. The person who runs CNN, Jeff Zucker.
Yeah.
Jeff Zucker worked at NBC Universal. He worked with Donald Trump in The Apprentice.
Oh wow.
Like he was like one of the, not want to say producers, but he was in one of the people who was responsible for the production of it.
Okay.
He used to be good friends with Trump. Him and Trump had a falling out.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's because Trump didn't like, some negative news about him or something like that. But that so now if you know him and Trump had a falling out, they're not on good terms. They're sort of enemies now because they're both rich guys. That should give you pause when you see, Don Lemon talking about Trump talks like a woman, or what was it? I had another example. I just forgot it. But stuff like that, man.
Yeah, no, for real, man. It definitely is super biased on both sides. Yeah, we really have to change. We really have to just get back to real reporting. And it doesn't necessarily mean that reporters aren't going to be biased. I think we all have some sort of bias within us.
We all do.
but we have to be more objective.
Yeah.
Because we live with one another. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
Nah, bro.
For interrupting you. All right. It just
okay.
came into my mind.
Okay.
Oh, we about to get deep.
Oh?
We about to get deep.
Snap.
They gonna hate me for this one.
Hey.
But look at how
what you gotta say. Talk your talk.
All right now, what's going on right now? We got the Million MAGA March. Hey. Oh man,
bro, I can't wait to watch replays, man. Because that's what I do, though. Honestly, because I want to see both sides of the story. Like I watch CNN and then I go and watch Fox. I'll give it, maybe 5 minutes and then I'll turn it off because I'm like, all right, this is too much. But at least I try, right? I try to get both sides of the story. But go on, my fault, man.
No. So we got the Million MAGA March.
Okay.
So you got a million MAGA dudes out here saying that the election is illegitimate. So that means Joe Biden in their mind will be illegitimate.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
For 4 years.
Wow.
For 4 years, those people had to deal with their candidate, Donald Trump. People not explicitly saying he's illegitimate, other than I think was it Elijah Cummings? Or was it John Lewis? Yo, people gonna get mad at me for this. I'm one of those people who get them confused too.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but just go on.
John Lewis. It was either John Lewis or Elijah Cummings said that he had information that led him to believe that Donald Trump was an illegitimate president.
Okay.
And part of this goes back to the Russia thing.
Oh, are we talking about Russia?
Russia. Let's talk about Russia. Because for 4 years, people were saying that Donald Trump is a Russian. They're still saying he's a Russian, right? Still saying. I mean, they had a whole investigation. A whole investigation came up with nothing. It said that they didn't have any evidence proving or disproving that Donald Trump worked with the Russians.
Okay.
But people still choose to believe, to err on, he's working with Russians. Even though, if you look at like the reporting that's coming out about that, it's all sorts of weird, funny documents running around with that. So I'm watching these media outlets, and it's like after the whole investigation, the Mueller report came out, they just couldn't accept that there was no proof that Donald Trump was working with the Russians.
Okay.
And it's just this continuous innuendo.
Yeah.
Like I was watching Don Lemon once again. Right. He doesn't like being, supposedly doesn't like being told that he's not like objective news, making jokes about czars, because Trump has somebody working for him named Alex Azar. Okay. I forget which department he works in. And then he made like a joke about the czars, and then they're supposed to be Russians, or whatever. Right. So and then you'll have like other commentators who'll be like, why can't this president call out Russia? That was one of the things that happened with like the whole Russian bounty things, where it was said that Vladimir Putin put was it
Bro, I don't know, man.
bonds or something like that.
Something.
Bounties on American soldiers in Afghanistan or whatever. I mean, they couldn't accept it. So you see how their side is being told they're illegitimate. Yeah. And our side, and then now their side is saying that we're illegitimate. Not we. I didn't vote for Biden either. Biden nor Trump. Yeah. So it can't be like that. We're living in two different realities. Right. Man.
Right.
It can't be.
And exactly what you said about being illegitimate, like that prevents us from really moving forward towards that unity that we've been describing all throughout this podcast. If we're sitting here thinking, okay, this man is illegitimate, he's fake, he shouldn't be here.
He's a Russian.
He's a Russian.
He's
right?
a Russian.
Whether it be Trump or whether it be Joe Biden, right? It prevents us from really coming together and moving as one, because the whole time we're going to be thinking, okay, this man is a hoax, he's a fraud, he's this, he's that.
I'm bitter. I'm bitter because my candidate, who I wanted to support, I didn't even get a chance. What you laughing at?
This nigga voted for Kanye.
Nah. Never can. I wanted to vote for Tulsi Gabbard. Right? Okay. Before this woman's campaign started, they were calling her a Russian, bro.
Yeah, she probably is, bro. she a third party candidate. No Russian, man. We don't trust them third parties.
She's from Hawaii.
Here, dog.
She's from Hawaii. She was no third party candidate. She was I did vote third party, but Tulsi Gabbard is a congresswoman.
0.3% of the votes. This is people like you.
Man, before her campaign even started, man, people were calling her Russian, man. like, oh, she's being like supported by the Russians. You had people on CNN talking about, oh yeah, she's like Bakari Sellers, dude from South Carolina. He's a pundit on CNN sometimes. He says you know, Tulsi was working with the Russians or something like that. Unchallenged. Nobody says anything. He didn't have to show any proof or give any proof about that. He just was able to say it. And this is supposed to be objective news, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not just Donald Trump it was happening to. It was happening to people on the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So imagine, so you got people who are Biden supporters who, you know, they feel some type of way. But then you got people who, like me, I was a Tulsi supporter. And I feel some type of way because my candidate, who's on the left, is being called a Russian too. Yeah. And then you got Bernie people. I was a Bernie supporter.
I mean, Bernie low-key Russian, bro.
Bernie been to Russia, though. Yeah. All right. But I'm not making an accusation. I'm just joking, you know.
Yeah. Nah, you gotta make that disclaimer. But no, I definitely hear you.
There's a lot of hurt, man. There's a lot of hurt because people just manipulate
on all sides. Yeah. And with that hurt, bro, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. But with that hurt, like, how do you think us as people, how do we move forward? With all that hurt, with all that pain that we've experienced for the past 4 years, because in a society we have to move together, but we all have different conflicting views. We all have conflicting experiences. With all of that hurt, how do we move together? How do we keep this nation going? You know, what are your thoughts on that?
I firmly believe that.
Wait, give me 1 second. In terms, like, answer that question, thinking about it on the local as well as the national level. Like, how can Biden create this unity, and how can we in the grassroots level create this unity?
All right. So nationally, I think that the unity comes from, I think it's mostly going to come from, it'll come from rhetoric, right? Which I think Biden is going to do a good job at really speaking to everybody in the country, even if, you know, some people just will never believe him or whatever. There's that, and then there's also, you know, COVID, man. COVID killed, you know, it's killing all of us, man. Like, all of us are tired of COVID. Yeah. Like, man, the cinema right in my town, you know, a few blocks away, it's shut down. You know, I'm looking at destruction in my town, economic destruction. Yeah, you know,
and we all see it.
Yeah,
both sides.
So that's our common enemy right now, COVID. I think, well, not just COVID, but the economic rebuild that's going to need to happen. After COVID. So those are our enemies, and so we got to move forward together on that. And so I think he's going to be able to really speak to that, you know, or speak to it in a better way than Donald Trump has been. And on the local level, let's just remember, like, what our transactions are like with people around us in their actual lives. Like, outside of the virtual reality, outside of what you saw on TV, just real life, right? So I got Muslim friends, right? I told you, family members who are Trump supporters. MAGA. Yeah. I got people who are super liberal, and I don't necessarily like the super liberal types, because sometimes I can be a little bit annoying.
Too much,
you be doing too much a little bit. But then I also got the conservative ones, and then I got all in between, right? Yeah. And I just remember, when I get mad about anything a particular group in the country is doing, I just remember the individuals in that group who I have fond memories of.
That's a good point.
And I try not to let that the group cloud what I'm saying.
And why is that important?
Because
why is it important to do that?
It keeps you from falling into hate.
Well, yeah.
It keeps you from falling into hate. And I mean, if if you're the kind of person who wants to hate people, you feel as if hating people is okay, then do that. But I'm not a person. I don't want to hate anybody.
Yeah.
And hating takes too much energy.
Yeah.
Like, you know me, I used to be really into like the whole black nationalist, Nation of Islam, Israelite, Hotep, all that, white man is the devil stuff.
Yeah.
I never fell too far into it, even though I was in it, because I would always remember like the white people who I knew in life who were decent to me, and I have no objective reason to think anything bad of them. Yeah. And it was the same thing for Hispanics, same thing for Arab people, because when you start going into Black history, you see there's a multitude of people.
Yeah, we're diverse.
Yeah, multitude of different groups of people that you can blame for something that happened to Black people, or you could, or not blame, but be mad at, I should say. Yeah, because it was Arab slavery. Yeah, it's transatlantic. The Asians are sometimes racist to us. Everything. And I didn't want to fall into hate, so I had to find a way to hold on to those actual real life relationships I have with different groups of people, and not fall too deep into it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. For me, in terms of the local level, I'll start there. I really like what you said about the hate thing, man. I think that's really important. For us to remember the people in our lives that we work with on a daily basis. Just like you, bro, I got people I know who are Trump supporters, right? But they are the kindest, loving people that I know. It's crazy that they voted for Trump. I ain't even gonna stunt. I'm like, yo,
but they got their reasons,
right?
Even if you don't
right,
agree with it, they got reasons.
Yeah. And I think that we have to remember that. We have to realize that they have their reasons, and we have ours as well. And when we come to the table and when we discuss, beautiful fruits can be taken from that, right? I saw it. We saw it, bro. When you brought up the pandemic, I was like, yo, bro, we saw this in the pandemic. The amount of people who were coming, white, Black, Asian, like whatever it might be, people were coming against racial injustice, and they were like really about it. People were out in the streets. People were supposed to be at home. There was a lockdown. Yeah. But they was like, F that. We fighting for our people. And that was one of the most beautiful moments I saw within the pandemic, where I realized, okay, America can go somewhere with this, right? We can go somewhere with this, and we can bring other people along as well. Yeah. But through conversation. And imagine we did that over Zoom. We did that over the phone. We did that over Instagram, right? Imagine what that could be like in our everyday relationships, exactly like you said. Man, that would be an amazing and phenomenal thing.
I'll tell you, man, one last thing I'll say about it. Man, was it over the summer still, like before the summer ended, I'd met a Trump supporter. She was a co-worker with me. She was she's one of my family members' co-workers. She's a Trump supporter, man. White woman. Okay. Right? She brought her daughter over, so they're both Trump supporters and everything like that. And kind of opposed to the lockdown. I mean, when I talk to this woman, the reason she's against the lockdown is because, she's really hurting, and, family members, I won't give too much detail, but some family members got hurt because of lockdown restrictions. Wow. So she was negatively impacted. One of those people we hear about with the depression and the suicide and all that. So she was negatively affected by the shutdown. And she was the nicest person. And when it comes to race and all that, like, she was in a black family's home, man. She was holding a black baby and everything. Yeah. And she's a nice person, man. It was a nice person. And they're not for racism. You know what I mean? Like, something about Trump supporters I realize is they love it. They love it when, like, a Black person or Asian person or Hispanic person joins the movement. Seriously, because they don't want to be called racist. They're so eager not to be called racist, but like they treat them with so much love, man. So, like, really, they are nice people. A lot of them are nice people, man. Like, and I honestly just really would like to meet them and talk to them more. But so it's We could talk, we could build, and we can bring them on to our movement, right? We can bring them on to saying that Black Lives Matter, or if not Black Lives Matter, because the term got too politicized, at least your life matters.
Yeah,
you know,
their
lives matter.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real, bro. That's real, man. I don't even have words to say after that, bro. I was gonna speak about the national level, but I think you hit it off on a good mark. I think when we get to have those conversations, when we get to see the humanity of people, because like we said, we all struggling on every side, and I like that you brought up the point as well as to like how there are some Black Trump supporters, there are some Hispanic Trump supporters, but even with those people within our own diaspora, within our own ethnicity, like we have to be able to have dialogue with them as well and take them in and walk alongside them as well. For the sake of our country, right? And I think that that's something that we really have to think about in our minds is do we fully ascribe to what the values that this country holds, which is being united, right? Which is walking together. That's what we are trying to achieve, right? It's not fully there, but we're trying to get there.
Exactly.
And I think that we can't do it without one another. And I feel like if we do that on a national level, America can continue to be an amazing place, a place where people can come in and not even speak the language, right? Yeah. And still be able to live and mingle with other people. You don't see that anywhere. You don't see that in a lot of places, right?
It's so fun here, man.
Yeah. So I really think that we need one another to move forward. And I think that my man Joe is the man to do it. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. You'll see. I mean, you on the other side, you a little salty, but because your girl ain't win. But I think with what we're describing, I think it can lead. We can get to a place where we can have a candidate like, I forgot her name.
JoJo. Young JoJo. Joe Jorgensen.
Come on, Joe Jorgensen. But if we are walking in unity, if we're having these discussions amongst one another, we never know. A candidate like that can come up, right? Because we have different views, and America's views are being dispersed, right? Adequately and properly the way that it should, not only between a two-party system. So I think there's room for growth and there's room for improvement, but we really need to do it in a place of love and not in a place of hate like you described. Yeah, bro. So that's it, man. I thank you for coming on, bro. How you feeling?
Man, I loved it, man.
Hey, I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself, man. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. And I hope that the audience who was listening, I hope that you guys learned something. And I hope that you guys were able to take something to think for yourself, right? To make your own decisions, and to really go back home and look at another person's perspective and another person's opinion. That's the only way we're going to move forward. So that's about it, y'all. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for thinking it through on Berto Be Thinking. All right, y'all. Have a good night.